一则网上热传的视频显示，中国新年过后，云南、湖北、贵州等地殡仪馆仍然人满为患。山东临沂市殡仪馆外车辆大排长龙，
也是经常的有这些丧事。昨天我出门，一路上有3家，就看到3家。
山东济宁市殷先生表示，去年12月当局防疫放开后，当地大面积染疫，1个多月内很多村民死亡，
走了太多老人了，每个村都得好几十上百的，不断的在这上菜，棺材都涨了1万多，那些保殡葬的都没闲着。我们这镇有17个村，好几百人，肯定吓人了。现在集中死亡，都是集中老龄化造成的。
除了老年人，也有年轻人染疫离世。
现在年轻人走的也不稀罕，太多了，30、20岁的、40岁、40、50岁的这样的。我们镇里边前2天走了一个36的，我们这个镇以外的人走了2个，那一个村子走了2个。
殷先生说，医院都瘫痪了，不给看病，药都买不到，医院也没有呼吸机，该抢救的抢救不过来，造成了当地农村众多人死亡。山东滨州市某村李先生也表示，疫情也冲击到他们那里的村镇。
刚放开的时候，那时候没有吧？应该放开一段时间以后啊，有这会儿老年人有去世的。
而中共官方持续隐瞒疫情，12月8日以后的50天内，爆出的死亡数字不到8万人。1月28日，中共疾控中心报告称，前一周在院死亡6364例。美国白宫国家安全发言人科比上周3回答新唐人记者有关中共隐瞒疫情数据的提问，批评中共数据不透明。
And they have not been fully transparent, and we cannot speak to the veracity of those numbers. We urge China to be fully transparent about what's going on.
网友也质疑官方数字的真实性，说没人相信，其实没必要报道了，数据严重不准确。看着这样的数据，已经麻木了。新唐人电视台记者夏敦侯、易如、刘芳采访报道。
The Chinese regime instructed Chinese students enrolling in overseas education institutions to return to class for face-to-face teaching before the new academic year began. Bloomberg reported that the Chinese Service Center for Scholarly Exchange said on Sunday, January 29th, that if students cannot get back to campus this semester, please be sure to return to school on time for the next semester. The center also said it ended temporary rules allowing degrees via online learning to gain accreditation in China. This means degrees and diplomas will no longer be officially recognized if the study is undertaken online. It said, in order to effectively protect the interests of students who receive overseas education and maintain the fairness of education, our center will no longer provide certification or accreditation for foreign diplomas and degrees obtained during the spring semester of 2023. China reopened its borders on January 8th after 3 years of lockdown, which allows Chinese students to head back to their overseas universities. Many rushed to arrange visas and book plane tickets in time for the next semester. There are around 700,000 Chinese students enrolled in overseas universities to study every year. Most of them are studying in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. According to the Financial Review, 150,000 Chinese students were enrolled in Australian universities last year. The US had some 372,000 Chinese students in the 2019 to 2020 academic year, while the number fell to 290,000 in 2021 through 2022, due to the pandemic and tensions between Beijing and Washington.
For the first time in 60 years, China saw negative population growth. The government has enacted various measures to increase the birth rate, such as financial subsidies. However, pessimism about the future is almost a familiar feeling among young Chinese. Everyone has decided to be the last generation of the family. Deutsche Welle reported on January 27th that Emma Lee, 25, living in Shanghai, said that young Chinese are generally confused about their future and feeling that life is very stressful. Lee said that the news of China's population decline for the first time in 60 years hasn't changed her mind about marriage or childbearing. Moreover, today's young Chinese are all highly educated and traditional family values do not appeal to them. In addition, China's high-pressure lifestyle and the pressure of daily life are also reasons why young people resist getting married. Cynthia Liu, 27, who lives in Beijing, said that with long working hours, unsatisfactory jobs, low wages, and inflation, China's younger generation could not raise children. Liu said that due to the Chinese government's strict censorship of books, movies, and even video games, she doesn't know how to ensure that children would have a happy childhood, based on compassion and responsibility, which convinced us not to bring new life into a world like this. Moreover, during the past 3 years of the pandemic, the Chinese government's city lockdown and increased social control measures have affected the future of the Chinese people. Adam Wang, 26, who lives in Tianjin, and the continuous lockdown in many places over the past 3 years has caused people to deplete their savings and lose their sense of security. Wang said factories and delivery platforms could not provide workers with essential benefits, and more people are vying for civil service positions as youth unemployment hit new highs during the pandemic. In December 2022, the number of unemployed people in China from 16 to 24 years old in China reached 20 million. According to data from China's National Bureau of Statistics, China's youth unemployment rate reached 19.9% by July 2022. Adam Wang said the deteriorating economic outlook had left young Chinese struggling to make ends meet, leaving their peers with no time to think about getting married or having children because they can't even take good care of themselves. Some Chinese cities have pledged to subsidize families with 3 children and encourage home buying, but can they attract young people to get married? Cynthia Liu said that wealthy cities like Xinjiang and Jinan had promised subsidies of $3,000 over 3 years for families with 3 children, but only families planning to have more children are applying. Liu said that women who don't want to have more children are likely to earn more than the allowance within 6 months. In areas other than major cities, local governments do not provide any subsidies, so measures to encourage people to have children are just words. Emily said unmarried women she knows and relatives and friends believe that the Chinese government's support is not enough to convince women to give birth. Although China's birth rate will continue to decline, soon young Chinese quality of life is expected to improve as they have more resources to spend on themselves. Missing high school student Hu Xinyu has been found in a hanged position after more than 100 days since his last sighting. According to the paper, officials in Shangrao City, Jiangxi Province said they received notice that the boy's body was found on January 29th in the wilderness 5 minutes away from his school, separated only by a wall. The South China Morning Post reported that Hu wore the same clothing he had when a surveillance camera last spotted him on October 14, 2022. Then, wearing a white t-shirt with a jacket, he was captured casually heading to a classroom from his dormitory for an evening study session. Upon his disappearance, Hu left his phone, watch, identity card, and money under a pillow on his bed. Only his digital voice recorder and his school card were gone. A recorder was found alongside Hu's corpse, but officials didn't confirm if it was the same device he previously brought for study purposes. Instead, they said DNA testing confirmed the middle school student's identity. The discovery of his body has stoked outrage, especially since Hu's body was found so close to his school. The efforts to search for the teenager engaged residents and personnel from multiple government departments, yet, as the paper compared the map, he was found just 490 yards or 450 meters away from his school. Mainland Chinese have closely watched the case of the missing 15-year-old over the past 3 months, and people are asking questions. Orange Persimmon Interactive reported that a family member claimed officials had previously searched the area where Hu's dead body emerged many times. The unnamed family member said no trace of little Hu was found. This matter is very strange. The publication also provided a picture of the wall separating Hu's school from the area, which had wire fences and a notable surveillance camera. People are also questioning why the search dogs couldn't scent Hu's deceased body during previous searches. In addition, they doubted if the site where he was found was the actual crime scene. A netizen said, the school's only 5 minutes drive away from the overflow site, 16 minutes walk, and it took 106 days to discover it? Could it be that it was put up recently? On January 7th, the Shangrao police released a statement saying that there was no evidence Hu was murdered, committed suicide, or had any accident inside his school. Instead, they stated that the boy left the campus on his own. No information about his cause of death and corpse conditions have been released.
在乌克兰问题上，中国始终秉持客观公正的立场，始终站在和平一边，为推动政治解决乌克兰危机发挥着建设性的作用。我们不袖手旁观，不火上浇油，更不趁机谋利。美国是乌克兰危机的始作俑者和最大推手，持续向乌克兰输送重型武器和攻击性武器，不断抬升冲突的长度和烈度。美方不反思自身的所作所为，反而对中方无端猜忌、横加指责。我们不接受这种毫无根据的讹诈，也不会坐视美方无理损害中方企业的合法权益。如果美方真心希望危机早日结束，真的关心乌克兰人民的生命安全，就应当停止输送武器、发战争财，要以负责任的方式推动局势尽快降温，